All right. Good morning. It's Monday. It's the last full week of the school year, which is insane. I can't believe it's gone that fast, and I also can't believe that we've been doing this virtual home instruction for like 50 something days now. 55 days. I think this is the 55th day. So it's crazy. It's crazy that it's coming to an end. I'm sure we're all kind of bittersweet about seeing the school year come to an end, and also not being able to see each other physically in the classroom before you move on to seventh grade. We're going to host something next week where we'll gather on Google Meets just to say hi and just to check in and physically see each other, more of just like a social thing, like one last time. It'll be sometime next week on those half days, but I'll talk more about that at another time. We're kind of winding down the year. This is the last assignment of the year. This Black Plague assignment, we're finishing up with one last question 3. And that's, how did the Black Plague spread so quickly? How did the Black Plague how did the Black Death affect people in the 14th century? So it's a little bit of how did it spread and a little bit of how did it affect people specifically. And we're going to look at some charts and some graphs. But first, I want to preview the week. So we have, it's really the same all week. We got Monday is the Black Plague. Analyze the question 3 slides, which we're going to go through right now, and complete the attendance form. The attendance form is going to be posted at the top of the classroom every day. It's going to be the same attendance form. You can access it multiple times and fill it out multiple times, one for each day. So by the end of the week, you should have filled it out 5 times, and you're going to have a choice of things to do on there. Okay, so let me just pull up that attendance form and talk about this. This is the most important thing. I still consistently am missing like 9 to 10 people every time I do an attendance form. It's the simplest thing in the world. Just fill it out. It takes 2 minutes, okay? This video is longer to watch than doing the attendance form, so please complete the attendance form. Put your first name, your last name, pick which block you have, and then select the date. So we have Monday, June 8th, Tuesday, June 9th, Wednesday, June 10th, Thursday, June 11th, Friday, June 12th. You should pick one for each day. And then select all that apply. Today I am just checking in for attendance, meaning that's it. You just have to submit the form. Working on missing assignments. You can go back at any time this week or next week. Go back and complete missing assignments that you have for me to increase your grade, okay? Without a late penalty. So just submit them. Working on supporting question 3 of the plague, or working on personal finance games for extra credit. I'm also offering extra credit. If you're not happy with your grade as it stands right now and you want to get a better grade, you can do some extra credit personal finance games and reflections for that. I think they're really, really fun. We kind of ran out of time, so I'm not doing like official lessons, but these games kind of cover everything that I would have done. So I'll talk about that in a different video that I will post with the personal finance games. So look for that post and look for that video. I'm not going to talk about that here because I want to talk about the Black Death. So please fill this out every day. So you should, even if you're just coming in and just clicking this one, checking in for attendance, make sure that you're filling this out. It takes 2 seconds. So please do it. Okay. So it's the same all week. All right. So you have time to work on the question 3 assignment, which is an annotated illustration. Or you can play personal finance games, or you can work on missing assignments. It's up to you. All right. So every day is pretty much the same, except for Friday. You have the Black Plague annotated illustration due. Okay. That is your attendance on Friday, as well as the attendance form. So make sure that you you complete that by Friday. I'm giving you all week to work on it. It should be plenty of time. Attached to this slideshow are examples of what an annotated illustration is, and I'll get into that in a second. All right, how did the Black Death affect people in the 14th century? Source B, bubonic plague statistics, slides 3 through 5. So this is all one source as it loads here. So graphic 1 is a chart depicting the population of Europe before, during, and after the Black Death. The recovery of European population following the plague of 1347 was only 200 years, an insignificant moment in the evolutionary time scale. So we have the year 1000, 1100, 1200, 1300. The population's increasing, and then the plague hits at this time, right here. And the population dips by a lot. Look how many millions of people there are no longer living in this moment. That's a lot. But then look what happens. In the years afterwards, it meets the same level in about 200 years and then skyrockets and is way over 110 million people. Little dip here because there's another series of plagues, but then it skyrockets again. All right, so the plague actually doesn't affect people that much in terms of the whole scale. Obviously, it kills many millions of people in the moment, but the overall population continues to increase and then some. More and more and more people. It goes from a high of 90. I think they had a little misprint here. It should be 90 and then 80. It goes from like 85 million, dips down to 60 million, and then skyrockets to 110 million 200 to 300 years later. So perhaps the stronger people are left, and they continue to make stronger people. Here we have the chart depicting the population of selected European countries during and after the Black Death. Pre-plague population in the millions and post-plague population in the millions in blue. So we have England and Wales, pre and post. Scotland, pre and post, hit pretty hard. Ireland, not really affected. France, pre and post. Belgium and Luxembourg, pre and post. Holy Roman Empire, pre and post. Spain, pre and post, and Italy, pre and post. So you can see it affects all the countries a lot except for a few. Chart depicting deaths caused by the Black Death compared to other catastrophic events. Here we have, and this is, I think, interesting for today, too. Here we have World War I and World War II. It affects 70 million people. Then we have the Black Death, about the same as World War I and World War II combined, which is insane to think about. 70 million people. This little jagged line is like when the numbers don't climb consistently, they have to like do a little break, and that's what this is about. The swine flu, which is kind of comparable to COVID in terms of the symptoms and things like that. Not exactly the same disease, and it was a little bit more contained, but there was some of the same fears that were happening with swine flu not that long ago, 12 years ago or so, like that. And it didn't spread as much, but some of the same fears. And then the normal flu yearly kills 50,000 people worldwide. Yearly, 50,000 people. All right, source B is an illustration of the persecution of Jews during the Black Death. So take a look at this, read this. In the Middle Ages, people had no knowledge of germs and most rarely washed their hands and bathed. In cities, they were often cramped in close quarters. However, Jews were often forced to live on the outskirts of town. As we learned about in medieval towns, they were kind of forced out of town, and they weren't allowed to have the same jobs as other people. Their religion required exceptional cleanliness. This requirement meant that they got sick far less frequently than non-Jewish peers. Many townsfolk then assumed that Jews were poisoning their wells, and they began to destroy Jewish communities and murder thousands of Jewish people during plague outbreaks. And here is an illustration of that. We got source C, social and economic effects of the plague. Read this. I'm not going to read it out loud because it's too long. But this is from 1972, a secondary source. So your task is to create an annotated illustration depicting how the Black Death affected different groups of people in the 14th century. And on the weekly agenda slides, I have examples of annotated illustrations of different things. This is one from like a science class, and the other one's like an example of how a heart valve works. So it's not the same, but I'm giving you an example of what an annotated illustration should look like. You can do this on Google Drawings or physical drawing. Slides is going to be a little tough to do this on one slide. So I would do Google Drawings or actual drawing, and then submit the picture of that on Friday for Friday's attendance. So here we have like a whole picture and then annotations on different parts of the picture explaining it. And here again is blood flow of the human heart, explaining what different things do. And that should be your opportunity in the annotations to reference sources from this week and last week. So I just went over a lot. If you have any questions, join the Google Meet today. I'm going to host two, one in the early morning at 8:45 and then one in the later morning at 11:45. So feel free to join either of those if you have any questions. All right. Good luck. I'm looking forward to seeing some exciting creative things as we end our last thing of the school year, our last assignment. So remember to fill out those attendance forms each and every day. And then Friday, you have the annotated illustration due. If you have any questions, let me know. Good luck as we